Hello everyone, this is Christian at Exiton Interactive, and in this video we are going to take what we did in the previous video and make it easier to create our mock database context. So if you remember, what we have to do is basically use some methods that we did to create data. So we create the data, we convert it to an asynchronous capable mock DB set. From that returns us the mock of the DB set, and we have to use the object property to then get the DB set out of it. Downside to this is that we have to do these and have to remember, do them in order, have to remember what the order is and what to do. So in this video, what I'm going to do is create what I call a context builder, which will make it easier for us to say, I want to make this type of context. Here's what I want to make, how many, what is it, how to make them. And so, I'll get IntelliSense then to help me out with the properties and the methods on the context builder. So hopefully in the future we'll make it easier for me to remember how to build this database context. Alright, so let's get started here. So if you remember where we left off in the previous video, we had created the ability through the use of several different methods, regular static method, an extension method. So we can create data for our data sets. We can convert them to asynchronous capable DB sets. And we have to do this in a particular order, right? Create the data, convert it, extract the object. And, I would like to make it so that it's a little more foolproof for myself. I don't have to keep remembering what I'm supposed to do and when I'm supposed to do it. So that's what we're going to focus on here. And we're going to do that by creating what I'm calling a mock context builder. I've already created the file for it. And inside of here, so when I originally did it, if you take a look at, in the data, what we're doing is creating the same amount of things. And I thought, okay, well, what I'll do is just set, I would set how much I want to create, keep that in memory, and then create that amount for each thing. And I decided that's not really the way that I wanted to go. I just want to specify it for each one. Reason I mentioned that is because I was going to make it so that, you set the amount, the limit, then you created the data, and this data, and that data. So I wanted to have it done in a particular order. And when that comes around, I like to use a sort of a fluent interface type of build. Even though that's not really the approach I'm taking now, we're still going to do it in that way. Maybe want to add something in the future, and that was interesting to do, so we're going to do it here. So first we're going to start off by creating a public interface mock context builder. Hey, it's going to I'll have to specify what type of context it is. Now typically I do put interfaces and class, in a separate folder or a separate file. In these type of situations though, when the interface just simply exists so that I can direct people on what they should do and when they should do it, then I just throw the interface in with the class. So what we're going to want to have in this interface first is a couple of things. We'll start off with a sort of a getter for the context. So in the end, what we're going to need once it's built is to get the context out of our builder, right? So there's the property. Now what we're also going to need to do is to add data to it, right? So we're basically wanting to do this. Give me a context and I will set the data on the appropriate property, right? So to do that, we're going to create a method that's going to return back this same interface. The name of it is going to be add. We're going to have to tell it what type of entity we're adding. So we tell it the context and tell it the type of entity. We're going to need to tell it how many of the things. Now we need to tell it have a way to tell it which property on the context we're trying to set. And to do that, what we're going to do is to use an expression. And that expression then will be of a func. And the func is give me the context. And then I will return from that a db set of type tEntity. Make sure I get enough greater than signs in there. And I just called this db set expression. And we also need, after that, we need a sort of the same thing that I did previously, the generator, right? We need to create, have a way to make up new whatever those things are to set them to the property. And we'll return to our func of int t entity and call it generator. We do need one thing though. We do have to say that where tEntity is a class, we need it to be a reference type. All right, so that's what we're going to use for the interface. And we need our class now. So public class mock context builder t context. We're going to implement the I mock context builder a interface. Let's go ahead and implement things. All right, so in our constructor, what we'll do is public mock context supposed to be builder. What we will do is to set the context here, and this is just going to be a get. To do that, we're going to say the context is equal to activator dot create instance. Type of instance we want to create is the context. So now we have a context. And sort of to build a sort of fluent interface, what we do need is to start us off in the right foot, right? So if I just do a mock context builder, anything that's public will show up, right, in my IntelliSense. What I want is to sort of direct the path, right? So I want to have my builder, and then the first thing available will be this. I can either add or get the context, right? And so let's make this a little less crazy. So to do that, what we're going to need is a way to start things off. So we'll do public static. This is going to return the mock context builder a t context. I called it start. Maybe somebody can come up with a better name. We'll do return new mock context builder. All right. Wondering what's going on. What's going on is I don't know what I'm doing. All right. So now we have a way to start adding or start the thing up. We specified the context, so we can get the context. We need to deal with creation of things, right? Adding. All right. So from here, we'll do var expression is equal. We'll cast to member expression. And that's the db set expression so that we can get the body from it. Excuse me. So we'll have name is equal to expression dot member dot name. And the prop that we're trying to set is going to be on the context dot get type dot get property. Which property? Well, the name. And we'll do binding flags of public and binding flags or instance. All right, so we have our prop. So if the prop is not equal to null, and prop.canWrite, then, so I'm not doing it here. What we should do is some kind of error handling or something. If this is not true, probably just throw an exception saying, hey, done something wrong here. At least my intention is to use it myself, so later on I'm going to wonder why things aren't working. So what we need to do is set the value on the context, and we'll use the mock extensions that we created last time to create mock data count. Give it the generator, and what else do we need? We need to do one of the main reasons we're doing this, so to async mock dataset, pull out the object. Perfect. And you know what I'm going to do here? I am, because now I'm thinking I'm going to have a problem later on. Throw a new exception. Something, let's do unable to set set name property either does not exist or cannot be written to. Something like that. I'm sure that'll work for now. And then the last thing we need to do is return this. All right, so now we can, I think, go back and use it. Let's come back here. So we have our context, we're building, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's just put a letter on it, and we'll get rid of it here in a second. So var context equals mock context builder. The type mock async context dot start. At the end, we'll do dot context, and so we're good to go there. Of course, in between, we have to do some other stuff. So we'll do dot. We get our add. How many? 20. Which one? Well, we'll stick with it. I think we did articles first. And we need to specify how to make an article, which we were already doing previously. Let's move it down here. So, and then we can do dot add 20 of authors. And the way that we do that, there. So we get rid of this. So now we're building our context, what type, how many, specify the property so we get some compile time help, make sure everything's right, and then how to generate one of those things is this. So we should be able to save everything, let it restart, and we're still getting. So if you check out the previous video, we're just basically listing the titles for all the articles. So we have 20 articles and 20 authors. All right. So I also mentioned at the end of the previous video, one downside to what we've done so far is that basically each thing that's contained within a data set is, all the properties are basically scalar properties, right? There is no connection between the data sets. And for instance, for authors, you probably have a link between an author and all of the author's articles, right? So we need to add the ability to do that. All right, so what we will do is return to our context builder, go back up to our interface. I'm going to copy this one and paste it here. And so what we want is the add. We need to be able to So what does it mean? So navigation property between one data set and the other. Basically what it means is just we know what's in the other data set, right? So what we need to do is to create the ability to generate something, the T entity, using knowledge that's already contained within the context, right? So we'll just modify our generator class to take the int as well as the T context, right? We need to implement that. All right. Now, as one can imagine, the code is going to be very similar between the two, right? So between these two, whether you are using information in the context or not, a lot of this is going to be the same. So what we're going to do is create a little helper method down here. Private void, we'll call it set value. And we'll do T entity. Actually, I'm going to just type it out. Could be lazy. So let's see where we're at. T entity, and what we're going to pass into it is the expression of type func of T context, db set type T entity. We'll pass in db set. We'll pass in our expression. And then what we'll pass into this is an I enumerable of type T entity. We'll just call it entities. We need our where T class. Oh, not T, T entity. Okay, so what we'll do basically is grab all of this and change a few things, right? So what we're passing in, the db set expression, all that works. This thing down here is creating the data, right, which we're converting then to the data set. So let's just go ahead and get rid of this thing and just say entities dot. All right. So for example, if we come up here to this one, we can now get rid of this and we'll just say set value, db set expression, and I shouldn't have deleted all that yet. What we'll do, what we had there was just this, right? Mock extensions, create mock data, how many, and the generator. Right? All done. So what we do here is take this, put it down here, and the last thing that we have to do is not only do we put in the count, we also have to put in the context, right? Oh, where is it? I think, oh, no, I have a context, right? You would think, oh, there's one thing I forgot to do. And so if we go back to our mock extensions, we have this create mock data, which is for our original one. So let's create another one. And to do that, we're just going to copy paste, create mock data. I'm going to expect a T context. Oh, T. Yep. That's what you get for trying to do things without paying attention. So we need this one to be a T entity. So now we have a T entity type, T entity type. Then we are also going to have a T context. And then this thing is going to be a T context, context. Perfect. And, and not so perfect. Entity. All right, so we also need to update the type of the generator. Should be having an error right now. So it will need a T context. It doesn't generate the IntelliSense there. It makes me think I'm doing something wrong. So our generator is expecting an int and the t context. And then it'll give us whatever stuff it's supposed to give us. Save that, save that. So back to our code behind here, and let's modify things a little bit. Let's make sure I get all of these. So what we're going to do, give our things an ID. These are our articles, and our authors have an ID. But then we also need sort of navigation properties. So public virtual collection of type mock article, and then that's articles get set. All right, while I'm at it, what I did also sort of it has actually no effect. I was doing it to make sure that it didn't break anything, but in the authors, what we're going to do is include the articles, right? Otherwise, when we do the virtual, there's going to be null unless we do the include. The downside is that, so it would be true, virtual, null, and all that if we were using the real thing, a real deal ND framework. Haven't implemented anything to deal with that. So whether you have this include statement here or not, it's not, it doesn't do anything. The downside to that is that if you're testing things, you want it to behave the way that it would behave normally. And so if I didn't have that include, and say I wanted a unit test, I should expect that result to be null, right? So, but we're going to forget all that for the moment, and we'll come back up here, and for our articles, we'll say ID equal X. We're also going to put ID equal X. Guess I was keeping them in alphabetical order. So we're going to say articles equals new list of mock async article. We're actually going to specify here in a second. And I actually needed to do a little bit more work jumping ahead here. So let me grab out this. So we need the X, which is the int, and Y, that's our context. And inside of there, then, we're going to return. We'll return that stuff. All right, so nothing's changed for the moment. But what we want to do, right, is populate our articles. And to make it simple, all we're going to do is say article equals Y. So that's the context. Has articles on it. We'll just say first. First, no X, already used it. So the first article, which has an ID, which is equal to the ID that's being passed in, is the article that I want. And then we'll just say that our list contains this one article. We'll save that. Take a look. Server's restarting, no errors. If we return, no, can't do any returning yet. We haven't done anything. So we have our authors down here. What we'll do is just copy and paste this thing in. So now our authors, or each author has articles. So we'll iterate over the articles. Now we'll save that. Refresh, and we'll see down here, as we're expecting, we have author name, article, author name, article. So everything is working the way that we intended it for it to work. So if we take a look back here, what we've done is basically created a class, this mock context builder, that we can use sort of to help guide us through the process of, getting out or building up a database context. We specify it'll help us build up the data inside of it. It'll convert that data to being able to use in conjunction with the asynchronous methods in Entity Framework, and hopefully I won't have to remember so much when I use this for later videos. As usual, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, I will talk to you in the next video. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.